What's up, guys? My name is Levi Flint. Welcome to the Spanish Whiteboard. Today, I am going to teach you guys in the most simple way possible how to learn Spanish, how to think about learning Spanish in a very, very basic way. Step one is to have or to find motivation, okay? Motivation. This is going to be how we are going to start the cycle. As you're going to see here, this is just a continuous circle that we're going to follow. And again, this is a very simplified way of thinking about how to learn Spanish. The first thing is motivation. If you don't have motivation, truthfully, you're never going to learn any language as an adult. Like, you're just going to, unless you have a gun pointed to your head, you're in the military, you're in prison, like even then you're pretty motivated. You're never going to have the motivation necessary to do the daily repetition, to learn the vocabulary, learn the grammar, work on your pronunciation, watch countless hours of whatever it is that you're trying to learn, whichever language you're trying to learn. In this case, we're trying to learn Spanish, so you have to be motivated. Okay, the next thing you have to do to learn Spanish is you have to do a lot of listening. Listening, okay? That's the next thing. You have motivation, you have to do a lot of listening. So just like whenever we are babies, little kids, we have to do a lot of listening. It doesn't matter if you are 5 years old, it doesn't matter if you're 3 years old, it doesn't matter if you're 25 years old or 40 years old, or even older, right? If you're 60, 70, 80, 90, you have to do a lot of listening. Think about it. If you're trying to become fluent in a language, what you're essentially trying to do is trying to mimic native speakers, right? You're trying to copy their vocabulary that they use, the pronunciation they use, the expressions. You're trying to be able to mimic them and to sound like them and to communicate with them. So you need to listen to them for not just a couple dozen hours, not just a few hours, hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of hours, thousands of hours, I dare say. You need to do a lot of listening. Okay, the next thing that you need to do, and we'll call this vocabulary building. You need to build a lexicon. We'll call it vocab building. And when I'm saying vocab, I'm not just saying individual words, but I also mean you need to learn verbs, you need to learn grammar, you need to learn all these things, but individual words. You need to build a big vocabulary of, I would say, hundreds to thousands of words, right? But obviously this takes place over time. So we need to build a vocabulary. And we can be doing this with apps. We can be doing this by listening with Spanish subtitles and jotting down individual words and things like that. We can be doing these things and creating flashcards and learning. And we'll talk more about this, the specifics of this, in a future episode. But make sure you're vocabulary building. You can be using Duolingo, Lingvisc. You can be listening with Spanish subtitles and jotting down those words and putting those vocab words into Quizlet and studying those flashcards on your own. The final thing here in this little cycle, this is a super simplified look at how to learn Spanish, but we need to be speaking, making mistakes, and then repeating, okay? Speak, mistake, and repeat. So like, don't just speak for 5 seconds, 5 minutes, and then make a mistake and, oh, I'm gonna clam up and be afraid. No, you have to be doing this over and over and over again. Speaking, making mistakes, and repeating it. So again, think about when we're little kids. Think about when we're babies. We just do it. That's one of the reasons that people believe that kids and babies learn so quickly, is because they just listen, they learn new words, mama, dada, water, poo-poo, and then they just say it, and they say it, and they say it, and they say it. They build that vocab. They speak, they mess up all the time. We correct them, they repeat, they keep going over and over. And what they're doing is they're following this cycle, right? Same for us. So babies, children, adults, we need to do these things. This is the most simple way of thinking about it. Motivation followed by listening, followed by vocabulary building, followed by speaking, making mistakes and repeating these things over and over and over. And of course, this again is a super simplified look at this, and there's many more nuanced, detailed things that we can do. At its core though, this is what I wanted to show you guys in this video today for the very first video of the Spanish whiteboard. Check this out, guys. Hopefully this makes sense. Hopefully you trust this process here and you're like, hey, you know what? This guy's onto something. Think about this when you're learning Spanish right now. If you're just starting to learn Spanish, think of it this way. Anyways, guys, this is the very first episode of the Spanish whiteboard. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you learned something. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Follow this channel and make sure to check out the audio version of this if you want to listen to this. It's going to be called the Spanish Whiteboard Podcast. You can check that out, and I think you're going to learn a ton. Make sure to follow me if you're wanting to learn more intermediate to advanced Spanish over at Mexican Fluency, YouTube channel, Instagram, TikTok, etc. You can also see more of what I do with my courses and everything over at mexicanfluency.com. That's all I have, guys. Nos vemos pronto y muchas gracias.